The study door slammed against the wall. Nicholas stood there, my late wife's insurance papers in his meaty hands. The property deed was spread across my desk like he already owned the place. I froze in the doorway, watching him examine Margaret's death certificate with the intensity of an appraiser evaluating merchandise. "These documents are private," I said, my voice steadier than my arthritic hands, which clenched despite the shooting pain. Nicholas didn't even look up, just getting familiar with the family assets. "This house alone must be worth what? $800,000? Prime Oak Park real estate." His fingers traced the deed's edges, leaving smudges on the pristine paper. Catherine's heels clicked down the hallway. She appeared beside me, moving immediately toward Nicholas, not me. "Dad, what's wrong now?" The question carried that familiar exhaustion, as if I were the problem. Her new silk designer dress swished. The engagement ring, a diamond so large it looked fake, caught the light as she touched his arm. "Your father's upset. I'm taking interest in family matters." Nicholas finally looked at me, his smile not reaching those calculating eyes. He moved to block the doorway, forcing me to squeeze past him to enter my own study. His overwhelming cologne couldn't mask something else. Stale cigarettes, sweat, something predatory. At dinner, my pot roast grew cold while Nicholas dominated every conversation. "When Catherine and I merge households, we'll need to discuss renovations. This place has potential, but it's stuck in the past." He cut me off mid-sentence about Margaret's garden plans, his fingers drumming with impatience. Catherine poured her third glass of wine, not meeting my eyes. The dining room alone could be opened up, walls knocked down, better flow for entertainment. Nicholas gestured broadly, nearly knocking over the water pitcher. "Of course, that's assuming you're still around to see it, old-timer." Catherine laughed, too bright, too forced. After dinner, I headed back to my study for my heart medication. Nicholas stood in the hallway, deliberately blocking the path. "Excuse me," I said. "You're excused." He didn't move. I tried to step around him. His hand shot out palm flat against my chest and shoved. It wasn't hard enough to leave a mark, but it was deliberate, purposeful. My back hit the wall, my hand scrambling for balance against the wainscoting. Catherine stood at the hall's end. She saw everything, then turned toward the kitchen. "Catherine, I need to talk to you." I followed her, my hip protesting from the impact. She spun around. "I know what you're going to say. You don't like him. You didn't like James either. You don't like anyone I choose." The wine made her words sharper. This jealousy, this pattern of trying to control my life. "I'm 42 years old, Dad. I'm happy. Finally happy. Why can't you just be supportive for once?" She grabbed her purse from the counter and stormed past me. Through the doorway, Nicholas's smirk spread like oil across water. The front door slammed. Their car roared to life, tires squealing slightly. I stood in my empty house. My hand found my phone. "The police? And say what? That my daughter's fiancé shoved an old man?" I put the phone down. The insurance papers were still scattered across my desk. Margaret's photo from the certificate stared up at me. She would have already known what Nicholas was. I gathered the papers, returning them to the safe, but the damage was done. He'd seen the house value, the insurance policies, the investment accounts. Nicholas Harland had taken inventory, and I was watching Catherine become his next acquisition. My medication bottle rattled in my trembling hands. How many times could I fail to protect my daughter? With James, I ignored the signs. Now they were flashing neon, and Catherine had wrapped herself in willful blindness. Tomorrow, I'd need a better plan than confrontation. The Cloud Gate sculpture reflected hundreds of tourists, but I spotted Edith's red backpack immediately. She was running, unusual for my composed 10-year-old granddaughter. Her shoelace dragged, her backpack bounced open. Edith crashed into me, burying her face in my jacket, her shoulders shaking. "Grandpa," she muffled into the fabric, the single word carrying a weight that tightened my chest. "Let's walk, sweetheart." I guided her away from the crowds toward Crown Fountain. She gripped my hand with both of hers, knuckles white, constantly glancing over her shoulder. The pretzel vendor knew us, but Edith barely touched her favorite snack. We found a bench near the fountain. Edith dug into her pocket, producing a crumpled paper, phone numbers in angular handwriting. Nicholas's handwriting. I found this in Mom's office trash. He was on the phone last night with someone named Victor, and before that, someone named Lena. Her voice cracked. They were talking about timeline and percentage and something about making her sign before she realized. The paper shook in her small hands. 3 numbers, area codes I didn't recognize. Edith, has he? I chose my words carefully. Has he hurt your mother? She pulled her knees to her chest. He grabbed her wrist last week during an argument about selling the house. I saw through the door crack. Mom had bruises the next day, but told me she bumped into something. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He talks differently when she leaves the room. Me like we're problems to solve. I handed her my handkerchief. He searches for her things. I've seen him 3 times now, and there are calls late at night. Mom cried after, but pretends she's fine at breakfast. Edith wiped her nose. Last night, I heard him say something about the old man's house will cover the rest. My spine straightened. The rest of what? Grandpa, you have to protect us. Mom won't listen to me. She says I'm imagining things, that I don't understand adult relationships. But I understand when someone's being hurt. I understand when someone's planning something bad. I promise you, Edith, I'll protect you both. The words came out solid, certain even as my mind raced. Can you stay with me tonight, please? The request was so quiet I barely heard it over the fountain. We walked toward the parking lot, her small hand still gripping mine. I texted Catherine. Edith spending the night. School project. No response. Above us, clouds gathered, threatening rain that would match the storm building in my chest. In the car, Edith fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from carrying adult fears in a child's heart. The paper with the phone numbers burned in my pocket. Victor, Lena, were they family associates? I'd find out. My granddaughter had been collecting evidence, protecting her mother despite Catherine's blindness. Now it was my turn. Rain began as we reached Oak Park, droplets racing down the windshield like Edith's tears. The red light at North Avenue stretched forever. The color triggered a memory of Catherine's second wedding. Roses deep red against white silk that June afternoon, 7 years ago. I was there again in the bride's room, watching my daughter transform into someone's wife. Catherine's hand shook as I adjusted her veil. Do I look okay, Dad? Through the door crack, James paced. Phone pressed to his ear, gesturing animatedly. Margaret's voice echoed from that last month before cancer took her. That James doesn't look at our daughter, Stanley. He looks at what she has. I had dismissed it as a dying woman's paranoia. The processional music started. Catherine's grip on my arm tightened. When we reached James, his expression shifted, satisfaction spreading across his features, like he'd just closed a business deal. At the reception, James' best man joked about him hitting the jackpot. Later, James was on his phone by the bathroom. Investments secured. Just need to wait the appropriate time before liquidation. I convinced myself he meant his actual job. The green light, the present. We were home. Edith didn't stir as I lifted her from the car. She weighed nothing, just like Catherine at 10. Don't let him hurt Mommy, she mumbled into my shoulder, still asleep, still trusting I could fix this. Never, I whispered to my granddaughter, to Margaret's memory, to the ghost of my younger self who had failed to pull Catherine back from James. My phone buzzed. Catherine, how dare you take my daughter without permission? This is kidnapping. Nicholas is driving me over right now to get her. I carried Edith inside, her arms wrapped around my neck instinctively. The weight of responsibility had multiplied exponentially. James had only wanted money. Nicholas wanted more than that. The front door locked with a solid click. Let them come. This time I wouldn't hand over anything. This time I had learned that a mother's intuitions outlive them, that a daughter's blindness could be willful, and that sometimes a grandfather's promise to a sleeping child means war. Nicholas Harlan was more dangerous than James ever was. James was a thief. Nicholas was a predator who enjoyed the hunt. But predators make mistakes when they underestimate their prey. I settled Edith into the guest room. The stuffed elephant she'd forgotten on her last visit sat beside her. My phone buzzed again. They were 5 minutes away. Time to prepare for a different kind of storm. Steam curled from the hot chocolate mug in my hand. I was suddenly back in Catherine's apartment 3 years ago, watching different steam rise from coffee neither of us could drink. The memory hit as Edith worked on her math homework, her pencil scratching angrily across Nicholas's name she'd written in the margin. "Grandpa, what's 12 by 8? She asked. 96, sweetheart." But I was already slipping into that March night in 2022. Catherine's door had been ajar at 2 a.m. wrong in every way. Inside was chaos. James's suits were flung across the furniture. Wedding albums were torn apart on the floor. I pulled out my phone. I have a recording. Nicholas's confident smirk vanished. His hand dropped from Catherine's shoulder. "A recording of what, old man?" "More of your paranoid delusions." He took a step toward me. I ignored him, tapping the screen. The conference room was silent save for the muffled sound of the first dance music bleeding through the door. I increased the volume and played the crucial section. Nicholas's voice, clear despite the distance and the stall echo, filled the air. "Monday timeline is critical. 9 a.m. Catherine signs the transfers, thinking it's for the honeymoon property. Noon, documents get planted in her office. 3 p.m., anonymous IRS tip goes out." Catherine's eyes were fixed on the phone, wide with shock, not yet comprehension. Victor's nervous voice came next. "What about contingencies?" "Lena has duplicates of everything. Friend at Child Services is ready. One call and the kids in emergency custody." Catherine already signed the papers. Thought she was being romantic, giving me power of attorney for our new life together. Nicholas's cruel, loud laugh echoed. $3.2 million for the company. Another $800,000 in her portfolio. House equity $450,000. We'll be in Costa Rica by July. Catherine swayed, her face draining of color. She whispered, "No." The final, terrifying exchange played. "Victor, the old man?" Nicholas's voice dropped, menacingly quiet. Construction accent. "Old men fall off ladders all the time, especially ones who spent 40 years on job sites." "Victor, like Denver?" "Nicholas." Patricia, same setup. She was smarter than Catherine. At least she questioned things before signing. The recording clicked off. Nicholas lunged. "Give me that." I had anticipated his move. I sidestepped, raising my hand. Before he could recover, I hit the screen again. The audio was instantly uploaded, and a second, pre-drafted text message was sent. "Too late, Nicholas," I said, my voice heavy with years of regret and current triumph. "That's in the cloud. It's on its way to my son, a lawyer, and Detective Morrison at the Oak Park PD." Nicholas turned pure rage, the charm completely stripped away. He raised his hand to strike me, but Catherine, her body shaking, stepped between us, using the last of her strength. "Denver," she breathed, staring at the man she had just married. "Patricia in Denver." The willful blindness shattered instantly. Her eyes, bloodshot and frantic, moved from Nicholas's snarling face to mine. "The custody papers." The door flew open. It wasn't the children. A sharp, authoritative voice cut through the air. "Nicholas Harland, stop where you are." Detective Morrison stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 uniformed officers and 2 Palmer House security guards. The alert I had sent after uploading the recording had worked. Nicholas, caught in the act of preparing to attack, froze. He made one last, desperate, pathetic attempt to escape, darting for the back exit. He was tackled instantly by a security guard and an officer who had entered from the service corridor behind him. Victor and Lena, realizing their plot had imploded, were already being detained near the main ballroom entrance. Catherine watched, a silent scream trapped in her throat, her designer wedding dress contrasting grotesquely with the scene of her liberation. When the officers finished cuffing Nicholas, securing him face down on the carpet, she crumpled to the floor. I rushed to her, kneeling beside her. Kate, look at me." "He was going to kill you," she choked out, tears finally breaking free, not just for herself, but for me. "He was going to take Edith." "He won't hurt anyone ever again," I said, pulling her close, the fine silk of her wedding gown rubbing against my cheek. I hadn't been able to protect her from James's theft, but this time, thanks to Edith, I had saved her life and her family. "Grandpa." Edith, her torn flower girl dress and crushed rose petals marking her path, ran into the room. She ignored the police and the commotion, diving straight into her mother's arms, hiding her face in her chest. "Let's get out of here, sweetheart," I said, repeating her earlier plea. "Let's go home." I helped Catherine to her feet. She leaned on me, finally accepting the support she had refused for years. We walked out of the conference room, the scene of the climax, and into the chaos of the reception, where the music had mercifully stopped. As we passed the main entrance, Nicholas was being led out by officers, his face a mask of impotent fury, yelling threats that nobody listened to. He was a predator whose prey had unexpectedly fought back. We left the Palmer house. Edith held one of her mother's hands and one of mine. The wedding dress was ripped, the makeup was streaked, and the expensive diamond ring was gone, tossed, or confiscated. I didn't ask. But the three of us were together. In the car, Catherine finally looked at me, Margaret's eyes now wide with a devastating clarity I hadn't seen in years. "Thank you, Dad. You saved us." "You saved yourself," I corrected her gently, glancing at Edith, who was already holding her mother's hand. "And you had an excellent little detective on your side." The rain had stopped. The storm was over, replaced by the uncertain, quiet light of a new beginning. We were going home, and this time it was a home built on truth, not delusion. Catherine snatched at the phone. Nicholas accidentally knocked it from my hands. The phone skittered across the floor, and Nicholas deliberately stepped on it while helping. The scream, "You're recording us?" Catherine's face went white. "Have you completely lost your mind, Dad?" "Dr. Morrison," Nicholas produced a business card, geriatric psychiatrist, friend of mine. "I think an evaluation might be necessary. This paranoid behavior, following people, secret recordings." Catherine nodded slowly. "He has been forgetting things. Last week he called me Margaret. I hadn't, never once." "The papers he signed," I began. "The honeymoon surprise you're trying to ruin." She laughed bitterly. "Nicholas warned me you'd escalate. I didn't want to believe it. You're banned from the reception." Her voice turned cold. "Security will escort you out. If you don't leave quietly, Judge Harrison is here. He'll sign a restraining order tonight." Nicholas leaned close. "I've already asked security to monitor for disruptions. Your granddaughter stays here. 7 o'clock, old man. Tick-tock." I retrieved my phone. Screen cracked, but functional. The recording remained intact. Catherine opened the door, where a security guard waited. Edith stood in the hallway, tears streaming. "Mommy, please." "Not now, sweetheart." Catherine pulled Edith away as security approached. The guard's hand found my elbow, firm but not rough. Through the doorway, the reception continued. Nicholas raised a toast glass. Catherine forced a smile. My phone showed 5:08 p.m., less than 2 hours. A text buzzed through the cracked screen. "Unknown number. Nice try." The exit door loomed, but my caught the DJ booth, temporarily abandoned during dinner service. The glowing laptop connected to the speaker system. The guard pushed the exit door open. Cool evening air hit my face, but my mind was already forming a plan. It took 22 minutes of circling service corridors. The DJ's break gave me 3, maybe 4 minutes. My hands found the mixer board with an engineer's certainty. The auxiliary cable clicked into my cracked phone's port. Master volume at 70%. Wireless microphone battery full. Guests noticed me, but assumed authority. Confidence is its own credential. Catherine slow danced with Nicholas, her head on his shoulder, oblivious. By the dessert table, Edith's eyes found mine. Hope flickered through her tears. The feedback squeal cut through the conversations. "Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the interruption." My voice filled the ballroom. Nicholas spun, his face draining to paper white. Catherine lifted her head, confused. "I have a wedding gift for the happy couple. The truth about Nicholas Harland." Security started moving, but Aunt Martha's walker blocked their path. "Let him speak," others echoed. They'd sensed the wrongness, too. "Edith, sweetheart, cover your ears. Count to 100. She obeyed instantly, small hands pressed tight, eyes squeezed shut. "What you're about to hear is a recorded criminal conspiracy." I pressed play. Nicholas's voice flooded the ballroom. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Catherine signs the transfers, thinking it's for the honeymoon property. Noon, documents get planted. 3 p.m., anonymous IRS tip. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Catherine's face transformed. confusion, recognition. Then pure horror. $3.2 million for the firm, $800K portfolio. House equity, $450. Patricia, in Denver's, working 15 to 20 now. Nicholas lunged for the booth, but Uncle Robert, Catherine's ex-Marine cousin, clotheslined him effortlessly. The recording continued. Old men fall off ladders, all the time. Pandemonium. Phones emerged, recording everything. Someone shouted for police. The wedding photographer switched to documentary mode, capturing Nicholas pinned by groomsmen. Victor tried fleeing, but hit a wall of wedding guests. Lena froze. It's edited. Nicholas screamed. Deep fakes. This is a setup. Just stop, Nick, Victor cracked. It's over. It's all over. Catherine approached me slowly, her wedding dress trailing like defeat. She pulled papers from her purse, the ones Nicholas had her sign, finally reading them. Power of attorney, asset transfer authorizations, blank documents with her signature. You were going to destroy me? Her voice carried in the sudden silence. Take my daughter, everything? Nicholas reached for her. She backed away, revulsion replacing love. The slap echoed. The groomsmen let her through for that one moment. Nicholas's cheek reddened immediately. An FBI agent, off duty but alerted by my earlier message and the mention of Patricia Denver, stepped forward. The Patricia Denver case is federal. We've been looking for connected cases. Nicholas's face at the sight of the badge was worth the entire horrible day. 3 police units arrived. Officers entered carefully, assessed the controlled chaos, and received a rapid briefing. This is entrapment. Nicholas shouted as handcuffs clicked. I want my lawyer. It's all true, officers, Victor said quietly. The plan, the previous victims, everything. I'm sorry. Catherine collapsed into my arms. The first real hug in 3 years. Daddy, I'm so sorry. So blind. Just like with James, but worse. You're safe now, I said. That's what matters. Edith ran to us. We stood there, 3 generations embracing while police processed a crime scene that had been a wedding. You love my money, Catherine replied flatly as officers led Nicholas past the abandoned cake. You never even knew my middle name. The crowd actually applauded. The FBI agent handed me his card. Patricia sends her thanks from federal prison. She heard rumors about another attempt. You've helped multiple victims today. Police cars pulled away, lights painting the ballroom red and blue. What do I do now? Catherine looked at the wreckage. I took her hand. Edith took the other. Now we go home. We sat on the same bench where Edith had first warned me, still in our disheveled formal clothes. The fountain misted in the evening breeze. Strawberry ice cream dripped down Edith's chin. Grandpa, you're like the detective in my books, Edith announced. You saved everyone, I corrected. You told the truth when nobody else would listen. Catherine ended a phone call, efficiently canceling everything. The honeymoon, the name change, all joint accounts. She watched us. For the first time in years, she really saw us. After James, she said, her voice raw. I couldn't face another failure. So I gave Nicholas everything, passwords, access, trust, because fighting felt harder than surrendering. The business is safe since he never got his Monday chance. The insurance will cover the legal fees. We'll have to testify, but Victor's cooperating fully. Lena, too. Can we have Sunday dinners? Edith asked suddenly. All 3 of us? Real family stuff, not pretend. Every Sunday, Catherine promised. And Grandpa will teach me more detective skills. If you'll teach me to pay attention, Catherine replied. The sun set over Lake Michigan. Edith fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted from being brave. Catherine reached across her to squeeze my hand. Thank you for not giving up on us. Never could, never will. The city lights began twinkling. We were 3 generations on a bench, wedding clothes ruined, but together, not happily ever after, but honestly forward. Margaret would be proud. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right. Thank you for watching.